Good morning and welcome to the middle school student reopening community chat. I just want to make sure our interpreters have an opportunity to do what they need to do. Are we all set to go? Okay, I will assume that we are. So whether you are joining us live on Zoom or streaming this chat on Facebook Live, or were unable to join us this morning and you're watching the recorded session after the fact, thank you for making time to join us today to lift up and consider some of the concerns and questions that are bubbling up for our students. Before we begin, we just want to say how proud we are of each of you. We know it has been a challenging time for you, but your perseverance and your commitment to learning each day is awesome. Thank you all for being here. My name is Dr. Marcia Jackson. I am the Executive Director of Student Services, and I'm excited about serving as your co-moderator this morning with our recently appointed school board representatives. Let me introduce you to Lorraine Johnson and Ashley Sanchez Biafara, both seniors at T.C. Williams High School.
Thank you so much. My name is Lorraine Johnson.
My name is Ashley Sanchez Villafara, and we are so excited about serving as moderators for this chat. We really do care about the educational community of Alexandria and have a great interest in our plan for reopening schools.
We are absolutely so grateful that you've taken this time to submit your questions, to attend this chat, and to give your voice about these issues that you care about so much, and the work with ACPS towards potential solutions for reopening schools that reflect the issues that students may face in the fall.
We will be posing as many questions as possible in the next 30 minutes to provide you with as many answers as possible about the reopening of schools. First, let's hear a few words from our superintendent, Dr. Hutchings.
Thank you, Lorraine, and thank you, Ashley. And I just want to thank you all because you all are like just some amazing students, and you're the epitome of what we want Alexandria City Public Schools students to become. So thank you for that. Thank you to all of our middle schoolers who are logged in and watching this Zoom today. I hope that we are able to provide you all with some answers to several questions that you've already sent in to us, just to make sure that you're engaged and informed about our reopening, and I'm looking forward to our discussion. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hutchings. And let's get started with our first question. And Ashley and Lorraine are going to take chances. They're going to take turns asking the question. So let's go with Ashley for question number one.
All right, so question number one is, I heard it was going to be hybrid in schools and distance learning. Is that true? What if schools open and we are supposed to come out, but my mom doesn't want me to go? What would happen then?
So thank you so much for that question. Right now, we have not made a decision. We are still in the process of planning for the reopening of schools. So we have not made a decision about whether schools will open virtually or whether we will open hybrid. And so that information will be coming forth very soon. I don't know if Dr. Hutchings or Dr. Mozingo would like to add anything to that.
So yes, so this Friday, we're actually going to be sharing out with our community about specifically what is the model that's most feasible to start out the school year. And when we say most feasible, it doesn't mean like it's the best model. It doesn't mean that it's my choice as superintendent. It means that based on the constraints that we have with this global pandemic, based on the feedback that we have received from you, our students, from our families, from our staff members, and based on the alignment with our newly adopted ACPS 2025 strategic plan, what is most feasible in order to start the school year? And then we have to put into consideration all of the information that comes from the Center for Disease Control, which is also known as the CDC, and the Virginia Department of Education, also known as the VDOE. So there's a number of factors that is really guiding this work. But this Friday, you all are going to know the model that we believe is most feasible for reopening our schools. And the next Friday, on August 7th, the school board will have a meeting at noon, and we're going to be able to share with the school board and our community about our comprehensive planning and the plan to give you some more details. So we're going to always keep health and safety of our students at the forefront for every decision that we make. And then we have to then look at the constraints, the input, and the alignment with our strategic plan.
Thank you, Dr. Hutchings. Lorraine, question 2.
Will the school day start and end at the same time as last year? What will schedules look like, and will they be mailed to us at home?
Well, Lorraine, I'll take a portion of that because that is a very good question,
Very good
right?
question.
And that is a question that every middle school kid in particular would like to know. What is my schedule? And will I see my friends, right? So what we want our students to know is that we have our principals have been looking at schedules and designing, whether it's a hybrid or virtual. They've been in the process of brainstorming and reviewing and in the process of designing some potential schedules. So what I thought would be helpful quickly if Dr. Mann could just highlight some of what the principals have been discussing around the schedules. And I would anticipate either way, we would have to look at mailing the schedule so that the students, some way in which we would communicate the schedule regardless, so that parents and the students would be informed. But I'd like to ask Dr. Mann to just quickly highlight a little bit about what we have been thinking about in terms of schedules with principals and others.
Thank you, Dr. Mozingo. Good morning, everyone. The principals and the team of people who've been exploring schedules have been looking at a schedule if we were in a hybrid model where Monday would be a planning day. And this would mean that students would be doing work at home, or what we call asynchronous learning. And then one group of students called Group A would have 2 consecutive days of in-person learning at school. And right now we're thinking that would be a full day. And a group of students called Group B would be at home, continuing at home learning or asynchronous learning. And then on Thursday and Friday, the 2 groups would switch. Group B would be in school for 2 days of in-person learning, and then Group A would be at home doing learning at home or asynchronous learning. In a virtual schedule, Monday would still be a planning day, and then students could be doing independent work. But then on Tuesday through Friday, you would have blocks of time. So it may be, if you're a middle school student, you might have your periods 1 through 4 might be Tuesday, and periods 5 through 7 would be on the next day, or vice versa. And so we're trying to figure out schedules that give you your full complement of electives and core classes, but also making sure that we manage the amount of time. So you would still have a blend of live Zooms, but also time where you would be doing independent work or asynchronous learning.
Thank you, Dr. Mann. The next question will come from Ashley.
Of course. So this question is about regarding like social distancing concerns and stuff of that sort if we go back to school. So it says, if school buildings are open and students go back to classrooms, is it going to be different than normal school? Will we have to wear masks? Will desks and lockers be separated? Will we be switching classes?
That's a really good question, and Dr. Mozingo can elaborate on this. But one thing that we do know is that if we go back to school and we have in-person instruction, it is not going to look like it has looked in the past. So that's one thing we can definitely tell you, that it won't look like our traditional opening. Everybody won't be back in the building. We won't be able to come and go as we please and go walk down the halls and sit all next to each other and all those types of things, because you know, the CDC has some guidelines now that requires us to have 6 feet apart, for us to wear face coverings, for us to make sure we're washing our hands frequently, for us to make sure we're cleaning our buildings appropriately and a lot more frequently than we did in the past. So all of those things will be put into play if we open our doors back up for in-person instruction in the fall. So those are some of the specific changes you're going to see. And because we need to adhere to those guidelines, that is also going to require us to have less students and staff members in the building at one given time, or any given time. So that means that everybody wouldn't be in the school building at the same time either. We are working through some specific schedules and what that looks like. And this Friday, when we share out with the community and the school board kind of what is most feasible in regards to reopening our schools, and then next week when we start talking about our comprehensive plan, we will be able to share out some specific dates of when, scheduling, and when you'll get more information about what, the school year is going to look like with whichever model we choose, or whichever model is feasible. Let me take that back, because we don't get to choose the model, but whichever model is feasible. Dr. Mozingo, if you want to add on.
Yes, just briefly, I wanted to say, this is probably the hardest part for, I think, our students to be able to imagine. And these are great questions. I was thinking it would be nice if we would have maybe had some of you on our planning team, because the questions that you're asking are the same questions that the principals and others are working on, right? So this one question about, will we have to wear a mask? Well, we're going to still have to adhere to the safety guidelines, whatever those are, right? So there will probably, if you were to go back in, it would be different. When you get off the bus, we'll probably have to have smaller groups. When you walk in the building, we're going to have some type of assessment. As you move throughout the building, you would move obviously in smaller groups. Even in the classrooms, if we were to go to a hybrid model, you would be spread out probably in the classrooms. Very good question, even about the lockers. There would have to be some spacing in terms of the lockers. So these are excellent questions. If it is a hybrid model, just know that the commitment is to ensure your safety and your well-being, and to also ensure that we are adhering to social distancing. But regardless of that, I wanted just to add to this one is that there will be time for engaging activities and lessons. So I want to make sure that we're still going to make sure that you are learning regardless of the model. And the last question was, will switching classes be different? Yes, probably switching classes would be different, and probably smaller again, right? You may not switch as you've done before if we were to be in a hybrid model. We will know this Friday, but just know that things will be different, but learning and enjoying learning will be even better for you in either model.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mozingo. Our next question will come from Lorraine.
Hi, this is a transportation question. How will students be seated on the school buses?
So that's a good question too. As I mentioned earlier, our school buildings are going to operate differently. Our school buses are also going to operate differently. And right now, for us to adhere to the CDC guidelines and to the Virginia Department of Education guidelines, there's one student per seat, every other seat on a bus. So as you can imagine, that means there will be less students on the bus at a time. And this will also allow us to adhere to the social distancing and the social gathering guidelines that have been set by the CDC.
Thank you, Dr. Hutchings. Ashley, would you like to take question number 5?
Yeah, so Dr. Hutchings and Dr. Mozingo, you guys already touched base on this a little bit, but the question reads, there are hundreds of thousands of students in our school. Are we able to safely social distance?
So that, gosh, these questions are I'm just impressed with the questions that the students are asking, because they're also questions that our cross-functional teams have been working on. There is, again, regardless of whether it's a virtual model or hybrid, depending upon, as Dr. Hutchings has indicated, feasibility, this would be for our students. This is one of the ways that we are planning to assess and determine feasibility. because we have to answer that question, right? And that question is, given the number of students that we have in the system and in various schools, is it feasible for us to be able to social distance and still meet those requirements? So this is a decision that's still being addressed. And again, on Friday, our goal is to propose what is feasible and the community will be made aware.
And on July 10th, we did share with the board and the community kind of like a formula that we're using to adhere to the social distancing within our schools. And what our facilities team has looked at is each person in a school, in order to maintain 6 feet apart and social distancing guidelines, needs to have about 65 square feet of space, right? So now I'm giving you all somewhat a math lesson. So math is important, folks. So if every person in a school needs 65 square feet of space, then we're able to determine when we have a particular classroom and we know the square footage of that classroom, how many people can actually fit in each room. And because every classroom is a different size, every school is a different size, that number varies. So it really depends on the school, and it depends on the size of the classroom in regards to how many people can fit in that space and still adhere to our social distancing requirements. With that said, that means that because of the social distancing requirements, we cannot allow for everybody to go back at one time. So we already know that that's off the table. It's not even possible if we're going to adhere to the social distancing, guidelines. And as you all know, many of our schools are a little overcrowded already. So it would not be in our best interest to have everybody, coming back all at once. But we're looking at some ways to provide in-person instruction if needed, as well as opportunities for kids to have some form of in-person, even if we go with the 100% virtual model. And more information about that is going to be coming out Friday and on August 7th, which is next Friday.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hutchings. Question number 6, Lorraine, would you like to take that one?
Yes, I really want to go back to school in person, like so bad, but some people think it's too risky. Will we have to do temperature checks and health screens for everybody and provide hand sanitizer? I believe this can really fix that.
So that's a great question that our team right now is actually going over in regards to making sure we have temperature checks. That is one of the requirements for the Center for Disease Control. When you have people coming into large spaces, such as a school building, that you should have temperature stations. And we already have those stations in place right now. So students who are involved in any of the summer camps that are in Alexandria City Public Schools, like through Recs, Parks and Recs, or through our Campania Center, they're being screened each day and they're having temperature checks. We also had that for any of our essential personnel, meaning these are staff members who had to come to our school buildings while we all were working virtually and at home. But we had these stations that were put in place to happen every single day. So that is something that will have to happen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hutchings, for that answer. Ashley, we are looking at question number 7, and some students are concerned about, again, health and safety. So if you would like to ask that question.
Of course. So the question is, if school buildings reopen and somebody gets sick with COVID, what will happen?
So that's a really good question. I know Dr. Jackson can elaborate on this because she's on that team. One thing I just wanted to point out is that we do work with the Alexandria Health Department, and we also follow the Center for Disease Control, or the CDC guidelines, to get guidance for situations like this. But Dr. Jackson, can you elaborate on that, please?
Absolutely. I would like to just say that we are working very hard with a team of experts to think about our school buildings, to think about where do we need to make sure that we have space. If people get sick, we know that we have school nurses in every school. And if we have people sick in the clinic, what's another place in the school that we could potentially have students or staff go. So we are thinking about all of those things. We're also planning for cleaning every day and cleaning throughout the day. What kinds of things do we need to have to make sure we have hand sanitizer, making sure our bathrooms have soap. I know sometimes our soap dispensers run out, but we are looking to make sure we have a schedule for our custodial staff to be in the bathrooms, checking to make sure that all the supplies that we need to make sure our students are safe. And in the event that someone does get sick, just in general, because people get sick sometimes, not necessarily with the virus, but just in general, that we have a process in place and that we teach our students what the process is. We teach our teachers what the process is, so that we have, we do our very best to make sure that we keep everybody safe. So between cleaning our buildings and having spaces where people can go if they aren't feeling well, and also having protocols in place to support if there is a person that gets sick, how do we make sure that we determine what our next steps are, whether that is, you know, closing off that classroom or even that school building. So we will have those protocols in place to make sure that we do our very best to keep everybody as safe as possible. So thank you for that question. And as you can see, these are difficult questions and things that we are already thinking about. So Lorraine, would you like to take question number 8?
Yes, ma'am. This summer, it was everyone for themselves. Teachers were only available for 1 hour to talk if we needed help. The Edgenuity lessons were really long. Will online learning stay the same?
Well, I'll take a portion of that, then I want Dr. Mann to take the rest of this. But this is something that we are learning from. I think earlier someone said that there are some lessons learned. So whether it was 1.0 or 2.0 or even this summer, we are seriously learning some new ways, some new ideas. And we don't want students to feel that they have to fend for themselves, right? So what we will be doing though, as a part of these schedules, we're going to define and expect more time for teachers to be available for students. But that is going to be a part of the schedules that are being developed. In addition to that, as we talked with the elementary group about, and we wanted to also say to you, we're going to help organize with our principals and teachers, and maybe also get feedback from students, this concept of affinity groups and groups for a time in that schedule for students to get together with other students and to be able to discuss certain topics. So what you might have experienced this summer will be very different in terms of 4.0 and that instructional plan. There's a commitment for higher levels of engagement and more chunks in terms of how time is spent doing that schedule for you in 4.0. Dr. Mann, can you highlight a little bit about what the team is thinking in terms of the difference in the schedules for online, for example, just 1 or 2 examples from your meeting with principals?
Thank you, Dr. Mozingo. They are actually working on that this week in office hours and planning groups. The one thing that I've been saying in all of these chats, the one thing that Dr. Mozingo and Dr. Hutchins and all of us have highlighted, that when we shut down in March 13th, and even with summer school, we said still a pandemic and everyone would work 4 days a week and have staff would only work 20 hours and students would have a shorter day. We know that September 8th, the Virginia Department of Education has said school is back in session. So that means school is back in session. So that means more engagement. So it's not just going to be 1 hour, but it can be 1 hour with your math teacher, 1 hour with your English teacher. That we have to make sure that we meet certain standards in order to make sure, whether you're middle school or high school or elementary school, that you have enough information to be promoted to the next grade. So we know without any doubt that we have to have more instructional time built into the day, and that means more live Zooms, and also figuring out what those projects or asynchronous learning time may be. But rest assured, you will probably see your teachers more than you want to on Zoom beginning September 8th.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mozingo and Dr. Mann, for those answers. Ashley, we have another question around grading, and this is great that our students are so interested in their learning and their grading. So if you could ask question number 9, please.
Yeah, of course. So question number 9 is, will grading stay P and pass and no grade, or go back to A, B, C, D, F?
I'll take this one, and Mr. Sampson, if I forget anything, please chime in. As I said, school's back in session, so the school board passed the changes in our grading policy to go from essentially, I think they passed that in April through the end of the school year. So we will go back to our normal grading system. So if you're wondering, as you just said in the question, it'll go back to A, B, C, D, and hopefully no Fs. And at elementary, it'll go back to the normal way they assess grades there. And obviously at high school, if we have any parents who have high school kids on the call, everyone will go back to their normal grading in the fall.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mann. Now we have a question, technology question. So Lorraine, could you ask question number 10?
I think we're almost out of time. It's about, is that okay? Can we still ask it? Or?
I think we're good. Question number 10. Yep.
Okay, good. Are we going to get a new Chromebook or keep the ones that we have?
That's a great question. Right now, the rising 6th graders are going to take their Chromebooks with them to middle school, so they will keep it. And then we know that there will be some replacement needs that we'll have to address, and we will continue to have opportunities for students to have their Chromebooks replaced or request internet access if they need it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Hoover. And Lorraine, you are absolutely right. We have, you know, when you're having fun, you just run out of time. Time goes so quickly. And so thank you all so much for giving us this opportunity to answer some of your questions. We really appreciate hearing your voice around any concerns that you're having about reopening schools. I'd like to now turn it over to Dr. Hutchings to see if you have any comments that you'd like to leave the students with.
Yes, I just want to thank everybody who is on the panel today, especially our 2 student board members, Lorraine and Ashley, for their hard work. You know, you all, as I said earlier, you truly are the epitome of what we want our students to become. And you are definitely representing the student body well in Alexander City Public Schools. I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your schedule, because I know you could be doing so many other things in the summer. I hope most of you are in your summer learning though, but if you're not, I know that you could be doing other things. I want to thank you so much for that. Today we had 127 students on the actual Zoom, and we had 90 students on our Facebook Live, which is huge. I mean, that's over 200, you know, folks or young people on this. And I just want to thank you all. Please tell your parents that we are going to continue to make the best decision on behalf of their babies, right? Because their babies are our babies. So we love you all just as much, and we want to make sure that we are doing exactly what we need to do to ensure you're healthy and that you're safe, but that you're also learning, because that is the business that we're in. We're here to teach and to educate. So thank you, Dr. Jackson, for moderating, and thank you all for your time today. Have a great day.
Really appreciate that, Dr. Hutchings. And students, if we did not get to your question, please don't worry. Please be assured that it will be answered. The answers to questions that were not addressed in this time will be posted to our reopening school section of the ACPS at Home website in the frequently asked or FAQ reopening page, and it's updated frequently over the next few weeks. So please make sure that you visit it regularly. And with that, we would like to, again, I'd like to thank the co-moderators, the panelists, Dr. Hutchings, for your time today. A big thank you to all of our students who participated, either by submitting questions or tuning into the conversation. And for any teachers that allowed their classes, summer school classes, to participate, we really thank you and appreciate you so much. Please enjoy the rest of your day and continue to be safe this summer. Bye-bye.
Bye.